Hello and welcome to Asakusa. You should be standing in front of the Asakusa Culture Tourist Information Center. You're currently standing near Senso-Ji Temple. It is the oldest temple in Tokyo. With your back to the Tourist Information Center, the temple entrance is a few hundred meters in front of you. My name is Kate, and today we are going to discover the history and the secrets of this fascinating district. Our story begins nearly 1,500 years ago. It was the early morning of March 18th, 628 AD. Two brothers were fishing along the Sumida River, which is just a couple of hundred meters to the right of you. We'll be visiting the river later today. As they were bringing in their fishing net, they noticed it was heavier than usual. Nestled among the fish, they were surprised to see a statue. The head of the local village instantly recognized it as a Kannon, the goddess of mercy. He housed the statue in his house and devoted his time to worshipping it. 17 years later, in 645, a Buddhist priest named Shokai came to Asakusa and built a temple hall for the statue. This marks the opening of the Senso-Ji temple. Following a revelation he received in a dream, Shokai decided to hide the statue from view. Since then, it has never been unveiled. This is the entryway to Senso-Ji Temple. It's called Kaminari-mo, or Thunder Gate. It was built in 942 by a military commander, Tairano Kinmatsu. On both sides of the gate, you'll notice statues, Fujin and Daijin. Fujin is the god of wind, and Daijin is the god of thunder. In Buddhist legends, they are considered the most feared and respected deities because of how prone Japan is to typhoons and storms. They create destruction, but also protect Japan. In the late 200s, typhoons and storms destroyed invading Mongolian fleets, saving Japan. This is actually where the term kamikaze, or divine wind, originated from. Today, the term is more notoriously associated with special attack units and suicide pilots during World War II, which were flown into Allied warships, causing devastating damage. Fujin and Daijin were enshrined here to protect the temple against natural disasters. Ironically, the gate was burnt down in a massive fire in December 1865. Then, in 1960, the gate was rebuilt with a donation by the founder of Matsushita Electric, which is currently known as Panasonic Corporation. After you pass through the gate, you will be met with dozens of shops that line the path to Senso-Ji Temple. But before entering, let's try a mini quiz. Think you can get it right? Looking at the giant lantern in between the gates, how tall do you think the lantern is? A. 7.2 meters or 23.7 feet, B. 4.6 meters or 16 feet, or C. 3.9 meters or 12.7 feet. The correct answer is C. 3.9 meters or 12.7 feet tall. Quite massive for a lantern, don't you think? Now, pass through the gate. Stop here for a moment. Nakamise is a 250-meter-long shopping street that is home to 89 shops that sell traditional arts and crafts, sweets and snacks. The origin is a bit unclear, but it's believed to have been built around the 17th and 18th centuries, making it the oldest shopping street in Japan. Local shop owners were given permission by the temple to open up shop on temple grounds, on the condition that they helped maintain the temple by keeping it clean. The shopping street has been rebuilt a number of times due to fires, air raids, and natural disasters. The current structures were built after World War II, when the whole area was flattened from the Tokyo air raids. If you've come in the early morning or at night, the shops may not be open, in which case you can enjoy the art drawn on the shop shutters. In 1992, artists were gathered under the direction of famous Japanese artist Ikuro Hirayama. They painted emaki, or picture scrolls, on the shutters that embody the Edo period. The Edo period spanned from 1603 to 1868, and it was famous for art, which we will talk more about later in the tour. We have 4 stops in this shopping street, but feel free to stop by any of the shops that you find interesting. Continue straight down the shopping street. Our first shop will come up shortly on the left. Stop right here. On the left side is Kibi Dango Azuma. It is occupying a corner stall in between blocks. Once you've taken a look, our next stop is actually just 1 shop over, on the right side of the shopping street. On the other side, you'll see a shop selling traditional Japanese artwork. This is Sakai Kokodo, a ukiyo-e art shop with a history dating back to 1873. This exact stall that you are standing by opened in 2007. Ukiyo-e is a genre of Japanese art. The artists produce prints from wood blocks. First, wooden blocks are carved with chisels. Then they are covered with ink and a print is made onto a Japanese paper, like a giant stamp. 1 block is carved for each color in the artwork, and the prints are made directly on top of each other. So the number of colors in a print will tell you how many stamps or carved wooden blocks were necessary to render the final product. To better understand the emergence of Japanese aesthetics, art, and ukiyo-e, we have to look back at the Edo period. The Edo period started in 1603 when Tokugawa Ieyasu united all the warring clans throughout Japan. He became the shogun, or the hereditary commander-in-chief of Japan, and all civil wars came to an end. His family would rule until 1868, when the Edo period comes to an end. During the Edo period, Tokugawa decided to close off Japan to the rest of the world and isolate the country. So, with no more wars, a united country, and no outside influence, Japan began to explore its own culture in great depth. The Edo period is famous for shaping much of Japan's culture and traditions. During this period, samurais had no one to fight, so they began focusing their energy on Japanese aesthetics, such as poetry, painting, theatre, tea ceremonies, flower arrangements, and much more. Entrepreneurs started opening up businesses for the first time. Domestic travel also became popular as there were no more wars and the number of roads increased. This boom in travel further fueled the arts as people began to appreciate the beautiful scenes of Japan. Katsuka Hokusai is arguably the most famous ukiyo-e artist that emerged from this era. As a response to the boom in domestic travel and his personal obsession with Mount Fuji, he produced the famous series 36 Views of Mount Fuji. As the name suggests, there are 36 different perspectives of Mount Fuji. You might be familiar with some of his work. The Great Wave is his most famous piece. It depicts a huge wave engulfing fishing boats with Mount Fuji in the background. It's usually displayed in this store. They have copies for sale. The Great Wave has 8 different layers of color, meaning 8 different wooden blocks were carved to create the masterpiece. Once you're done, continue walking down the shopping street. Stop here in front of the Koyama Katana shop. It's on the left side of the street, occupying the corner stall in between blocks. There should be katanas or swords tucked inside the shop. This is a katana, or Japanese sword shop. Koyama Katana Shop was established in 1884. So, for any Japanese history buffs, this should give you a clue on whether these swords are fake or not. Opening in 1884 means the store was established just a few decades after the end of the Edo period. Earlier we learnt that the Edo period ended in 1868, when the Tokugawa family lost control as the shogun. In 1868, reformists overtook the government and restored power to the imperial family, giving power back to the emperor after a 250-year hiatus. People had grown tired of the traditional Japanese ways of life and wanted to modernize to adjust to the fast-growing Western world. This period, which saw the imperial family reinstated and Japan rapidly industrialized, was known as the Meiji Restoration. During the Meiji Restoration, samurais and swords were banned in Japan. Today, you need special permission from the Japanese Sword Association to own a sword, and it typically needs to have a historical or cultural significance in order to receive permission. The swords at this shop are made of metal, but they cannot be used as a weapon. So, it's legal to buy one from this shop. Oftentimes, you may see tourists buy one for decorative purposes, or production companies buying them for props in shows or movies. Stop in front of the massive Red Gate. This second gate was also built in 942, along with the first gate. It was also burnt down and destroyed many times, and the current structure dates back to 1964. Those gates house the Neo statues. Neo are Buddha's guardian angels and are typically seen guarding the gates of Buddhist temples. Now walk through the gate. Once on the other side, stop and turn to look at the backside of the gate. Can you see those massive sandals on the walls of the gate on either side? These are called owaji. Owaji were commonly worn in Japan until the 19th century. These sandals keep demons at bay by warning them that massive neo-guardians are standing guard. They were placed here in 1941 and are replaced every 10 years. Now, facing the front again, take a look to your left. Do you see the iconic 5-story pagoda? Like the rest of the temple structures, it was built in 942, but destroyed many times due to fires and air raids. But not earthquakes. I'll explain why in a bit. The current pagoda was built in the 1970s. The practice of building pagodas developed from the Indian tradition to hold sacred relics. Senso-Ji's pagoda actually holds a relic of the Buddha's ashes in its topmost story. It was donated by a temple in Sri Lanka in 1966. Japanese pagodas have some unique architectural features to them. The 5 stories represent the 5 elements of the universe in Indian cosmology: earth, water, fire, air, and the universe. Japanese pagodas are also strong against earthquakes. In Japan's recorded history, there has been almost no record of a pagoda being destroyed by an earthquake, even in recent devastating earthquakes like the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and 1995's Great Hanshin earthquake. Lots of buildings were damaged, but no pagodas. The secret lies within its construction. There is a lot of complex engineering involved, so I'll give you the short version. First, the wood is very important in these structures. All pagodas are constructed with flexible wood, making it bend and warp, but hard to break. The wood is joined by carved-out joints and slots, not by nails. So, when it begins to shake, the joints will twist and rub against each other, rather than absorb the seismic stress. The 5 stories are also layered rather than stacked. This allows for wobbling. If the bottom layer sways to the left, then the next will sway right, and the one above sways left, and so on. This makes the structure balanced during earthquakes, and a similar technique is used in creating buildings throughout Japan. When you're ready, continue straight towards the temple's main hall. Fortunes are common at temples. You can find out the level of your luck through these fortunes. You can draw bad luck, normal luck, or good luck. If you draw bad luck, you can tie your fortune on designated railings. It's rumored that Senso-Ji Temple has a lot of bad luck fortunes.
I can see that. Look how many are tied onto the railings.
Can you see that incense burn just a few meters in front of you? If you wave the smoke of the incense onto your body, it's good luck.
Oh well, that explains why our culprit covered himself in smoke. He must have drawn a bad luck fortune.
Continue ahead to the main hall. I'll meet you at the front of the steps leading up to the temple hall. Welcome to the main hall of Senso-Ji Temple. Stop here at the bottom of the stairs. This is where people come to pray. Depending on the time, you might even be able to hear some monks chanting Buddhist scriptures inside the hall. Behind you to the right, you will see a basin of water with a dragon's head spouting out water. This is where you wash your hands before entering the hall. It's not a requirement, but it symbolizes purification before entering the hall. There is a special method for washing your hands at temples and shrines. First, you wash your left hand, then your right hand, and then with your left hand you rinse your mouth. Finish by washing the handle of the scoop if a scoop is available. To do that, just tilt the scoop upright and towards you so the water pours down the handle. After washing your hands, you can enter the hall, and if you would like to pray, you can wait in line, approaching the offertory box. When it's your turn, simply throw a coin into the box and clasp your hands together and pray. That's it. If you'd like to enter the hall and pray, you can do so now. This bronze pagoda stands at about 8 meters tall and was cast in 1761, making it the oldest bronze pagoda left in the city. It was damaged by an earthquake in 1865 and was restored in 1907 to commemorate Japan's victory in the Russo-Japanese War. The Russo-Japanese War was fought between Russia and Japan from 1904 to 1905. Russia and Japan both had imperial ambitions over land in the Korean peninsula and Manchuria, which is modern-day northern China. When Japan came out victorious, the world was shocked that a non-Western island nation was able to defeat the massive Russian Empire. This would eventually lay down a foundation for Japan to be an Axis power during World War II. When you're ready, facing the bronze pagoda, head to your right, then make a left onto the bridge a few meters ahead. I'll meet you in the middle of the bridge. Stop here on the bridge. To the left of the stone bridge you are standing on, you should see a stone bridge over a koi pond, which you will not be able to access. That's because that stone bridge was built in 1618 and is considered to be the oldest stone bridge that remains in Tokyo. This area just has some of Tokyo's oldest structures, doesn't it? Continue straight. I'll meet you in front of the small red temple on the right side. Stop here. Face the red temple to your right. This is the Yogodo Hall. This hall was built fairly recently, in 1994, for Buddhist people who specifically worship the goddess of Kannon. Inside are 8 Buddhas, who each protect one of 2 animals of the Chinese zodiac. The Chinese zodiac is a continuous cycle of 12 years, where each year is represented by an animal. The Buddha that protects each animal is also thought to protect those born in the year of that animal. This hall is also the place to get a Goshuin of Senso-Ji Temple. A Goshuin is the temple's seal or stamp. Many people will have a temple or shrine booklet in which they collect stamps from different temples and shrines throughout Japan. Even if you don't have a booklet, you can still get the stamp on a piece of paper or whatever else you want it stamped on. Now, turn around and look behind you. there are a lot of other smaller statues and mini shrines. The first one on your right is the oldest stone lantern in Tokyo. It isn't clear when it was made, but it's believed to have been around 1100 to 1300. The other smaller shrines and statues are dedicated to various gods in Buddhism. Now, facing Yogodo Hall again, walk to the left. A few meters ahead, you will find a small wooden, hexagonal structure on your right, by the side of Yogodo Hall. Stop in front of the small hexagonal wooden structure called the Hexagonal Temple. It was built in 1618, and, unlike the rest of the temple, it has not been rebuilt since, making it the oldest structure standing within Tokyo. Within this structure is a special deity whom you have to pray to, with a specific number of days by which you want to make your wish come true in mind. So if you have an upcoming task that you want to do well on, you better start counting the days and begin to pray. When you're ready with the hexagon structure to your right, continue straight down the road. You will be exiting this small garden and entering a new road, signified by a large arch with Japanese writing on it. Continue through the arch and straight down this road. I'll meet you at the theatre down this street. On your right is Asakusa Kajikijo Theatre. There should be small red lanterns hanging on top. Stop in front of it. Asakusa Kajikijo is a performing arts theatre connected to Hanayashiki, the oldest amusement park in Tokyo. We'll discuss the amusement park later at the entrance of the park. This theatre opened in 2019 and hosts many different concerts, exhibitions, plays, and shows. The theatre itself is nothing magnificent, but Asakusa was known to be the entertainment district back in the day, during the Edo period from 1603 to 1868. This area was just outside Tokyo's city limits and was a popular place for kabuki theatres, geishas, and prostitutes. Kabuki is a traditional dance drama play known for its extravagant costumes. Oftentimes, kabuki plays will feature female characters, but in kabuki, all the actors are males. Today, kabuki isn't as popular as it used to be, with only occasional events. The red light district is about a 15-minute walk north of here in a district called Yoshiwara. Next to the red light district is another area called Kannon-ura, which was known to have many venues with geishas. A common misconception is that geishas are prostitutes, but they're actually nothing alike. Geishas are highly trained performing artists in dance, music, and singing, and are known to be very good conversationalists, often hosting parties. Typically, they entertain wealthy clientele dressed in traditional kimonos and white makeup that covers their entire face. The only real similarity between a prostitute and a geisha is that in pre-modern Japan, they both wore kimonos and had thick makeup. During the Allied occupation of Japan after World War II, it's possible that American GIs slept with prostitutes who wore kimonos and thick makeup and brought home news that they had slept with a geisha. After the Edo period in 1873, the government expanded Asakusa's role as an entertainment district and designated the whole of Asakusa as a public park. This so-called park was divided into 6 districts. The first district was Senso-Ji Temple Grounds. The second was Nakamise Shopping Street. The third is a pond and garden near the 5th-story pagoda, which cannot be accessed by regular people. The fourth was another pond located a little further down the street that no longer exists. The fifth was the Hanayashiki amusement park, which you are standing in front of. And the 6th district was southwest of this street and is called Rokyo. So far, we visited the former 1st, 2nd, and now the 5th district. The 3rd district is not accessible. The 4th district doesn't exist. So after this, we will be visiting the former 6th district. There was a 7th district, but it was just a residential area, nothing too significant. Continue down this street, and I'll meet you at the entrance of the amusement park. You're right in front of the Hanayashiki amusement park. Stop here. Remember, this was the 5th district that was designated under the Asakusa Public Park. This park opened in 1853. Back then, amusement parks weren't really a thing. It actually first opened as a botanical garden called Hanayashiki. Hanayashiki meaning flowery residence. Trust me, it sounds much cooler in Japanese. It went through quite a few changes and was a zoo, memorial park, and theatre at some point. It wasn't until after World War II in the 1950s that the modern-day amusement park came to life. In 1953, the roller coaster began operation, making this the oldest roller coaster in Japan that still exists today. You can still ride it. Don't worry though, it's gone through modifications since then, so it's safe to ride. I think. In 1960, an attraction called the B Tower opened, which eventually turned into the theatre that you just visited. If you'd like to enter, you can pay an entrance fee and enjoy the oldest amusement park in Japan. Remember, you can close off the tour while you visit it by tapping the End Tour button. When you're ready to continue, start the tour by choosing Resume. Once you're done, or if you like to continue now, with the park on your right, make a left turn and continue straight down the stone-paved road. I'll meet you in a couple of minutes further down the road. Make a right turn here and continue down this road. You'll notice a Uniqlo clothing shop. The main entrance is a little further down. Coming up on your right should be a Uniqlo. The main entrance will be by a big black column. Stop in front of it. Uniqlo is a very famous Japanese clothing brand, known for its high quality, comfortable, affordable, and simple designs. This branch is a bit special. It has embraced the local culture and has an Asakusa theme. The logo's interior design and limited edition clothing have an overarching traditional Japanese theme. Now it's time for a mini quiz. Uniqlo stands for unique clothing, but as you can see from the store sign, the clo is spelt with a Q. So why do you think there is a Q instead of a C? A. Spelling C's with a Q was a trend in the 1980s when Uniqlo opened its first shop. B. Registration staff mistook the C as a Q when they incorporated the company. Or C. It stands for something other than clothing in Japanese. The correct answer is B. Uniqlo was a textile manufacturer that opened in 1949. In 1984, they decided to open up their first shop and wanted to register the company name as Uniqlo with a C. But someone messed up and wrote a Q. Yep, it was a simple spelling error by the administration staff. Who knows, maybe it wouldn't have been as popular if it was Uniqlo with a C. Let's call it a blessing in disguise. If you'd like to go in and take a look, they have some great Asakusa themed t-shirts inside. There's also a souvenir shop attached to the store. Once you're done taking a look inside, or if you'd like to continue on the same road you came from, walk through the big red arches and head to the middle of the road where it branches out to many other roads. You should see an Asakusa Don Quixote building towards your right, a building with flags and colourful banners diagonally to your left, and if you look towards the left, there should be a big cream-coloured stone building with a black stone sign that says Denki-kan on it. I'll meet you in front of the stone sign. We are now in the former 6th district that was called Roku. The 6th district was designated for theatres and movie cinemas, thus making this area very popular for cinema and performing arts. However, World War II destroyed the entire area, and when it was rebuilt, the theatres and entertainment district as a whole didn't quite come back like it was. There are still a couple of theatres, but ultimately the area lost its Cinema City charm. The black plaque you are standing by says Denki-kan. We'll talk about that in a bit. On the other side of the road is a colourful building with banners and possibly, depending on what's on, pictures of different people. This is the Asakusa Enge Hall. This is a performing arts theatre that was built in 1964 to try and embody the former entertainment spirit that Asakusa once had. This theatre mainly hosts a Japanese form of entertainment called rakugo. Rakugo is Japanese storytelling. One lone performer sits in front of the stage dressed in a traditional kimono. He holds a Japanese paper fan and a small cloth as a prop and tells a long comical story. Throughout the entire performance, the entertainer is seated and relies on their storytelling skills to entertain the audience. Think of it as a Japanese version of stand-up comedy, only sitting. So, sit-down comedy? Now, behind you is the Denki-kan building. Denki means electricity, and kan means building. It was originally a hall built to showcase the spectacles of electricity. But in 1903, it was converted to a movie theatre, making it the first ever movie theatre in Japan. Today, it's non-operational and just sits as a historical landmark. Let's continue walking. Keeping the Denki-kan building to your right, head down the road. You should see banners of Japanese entertainers on the sides of the road. Keep going down the road. You'll eventually meet an intersection, but just continue and go straight over it. I'll catch up with you further ahead. On your left is a small shrine with a small red gate. Stop in front of it. This shrine is called Chingodo and is dedicated to tanuki, which are little furry animals that look very similar to a raccoon, sometimes called raccoon dogs. Inside, you will see statues of a tanuki. In Japanese folktales, tanuki were often known to be little pranksters, but they were also known to be a powerful ally, if you can win them over. In the 1800s, tanuki were quite common in Tokyo. However, when the Edo period ended and modernization began in the late 1800s, lots of the tanuki were driven away from the city and came to reside near here, especially around the garden of Denbo Inn. Denbo Inn is the official residence and private garden of Senso-Ji temple's abbot and monks. It's closed off to the public, but if you go into the shrine and peek over the fence, you may be able to get a glimpse of the private garden. Anyway, back to the tanuki. The abbot and monks were not impressed with the new neighbors, as they would scatter sand in their rooms and throw their sandals into kettles. One night in 1883, the abbot had a dream. In the dream, a tanuki appeared and told him, "If you build us a shrine and look after it, we will protect Denbo Inn from fire and bring it eternal prosperity." So, the abbot immediately built a shrine for the tanuki and called it Chingodo, which means guardian shrine. Well, apparently the tanukis have kept their promise, because during the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923 and the Tokyo air raids in 1945, all of the surrounding buildings and temples that we have visited so far were burnt down and destroyed, except for this shrine and Denbo Inn. So make sure to become friends with those little furballs. You can go into the shrine and take a look at the tanukis. You can even try to peek over the fence to see the private garden of Denbo Inn. Once you're done, or if you wish to continue with your back against the shrine, continue to your left down the same street. I'll meet you under the red arches that you'll pass through. Stop right here under the arches of the entrance leading you into a new path. Behind you, there is a second-hand kimono shop with a statue of a man kneeling on the top of the store. I'll introduce him later. Kimonos are traditional Japanese garments. They came into existence about 1,000 years ago, and in pre-modern Japan, they were worn as regular day-to-day clothing. During the Edo period, the country was divided into different feudal domains, with a feudal lord in control of each area. The samurais in each domain wore kimonos in colors identifying with their feudal domains, and with their family clan marks imprinted onto them. If you see a kimono with a mark printed on it, it means it belonged to a clan somewhere in Japan. With so many samurai kimonos to make, kimono crafters became really great during this time. Now, take a look on top of the shop. You'll notice a mysterious-looking guy sitting up there. Does he remind you of one of our suspects? Well, I hope not. He doesn't look like he has collected anything from any of the culprits' stopping points. However, he is actually a thief. But he's a cool thief. This guy is Mr. Nakamura, but more commonly known as Nezumi Kozo. Nezumi means rat and Kozo means little boy. So his name literally means rat boy, but it was usually given to little boys and girls who were pickpockets. Nezumi Kozo was a regular middle-class citizen during the day, but a thief at night. With the cover of darkness, he would break into feudal lords' homes and steal money from warlords and samurais. It was said that he stole over 30,000 ryo, which was the currency at the time, from over 100 samurai, during his 15-year career as a thief. The currency conversions are a bit unclear, but basically, he would have had enough money to be living like a Hollywood star. But here's what turned him into an absolute legend. He gave almost all of his money to the poor. The high-class samurai and warlords felt humiliated, so they tied him to a horse and publicly dragged him through the town. He was then beheaded at a criminal execution ground. Before his execution, he divorced his wives to save them from persecution and punishment. The humiliation of public figures giving back to the poor and saving his wives turned him into a popular legend. Isn't it poetic that a thief who gave back to the poor stands ground at a second-hand kimono shop? Typically, kimonos are very expensive, but you get some good kimonos at a very cheap price here. You can pop inside and find yourself a nice souvenir. When you're done, or if you prefer to keep moving, with your back to the store, continue walking straight down the street. Stop right here in front of this boxwood comb shop. You should see a large comb as a sign for their shop with a sign that says Yonoya Comb. This comb shop is called Yonoya and was established in 1717. It moved to its current location in the early 1900s. Because combs were not typically used by individuals back then, Yonoya used to be a wholesale business, selling to hairdressers and professional stylists. However, when the Edo period ended, the samurai hairstyle of the chonmage, or top knot, was banned. And so, as Japan modernized in the late 1800s, fashion and culture began to look to the West. This marked the beginning of styling your own hair. So, Yonoya began to sell to individual customers. Each boxwood comb they sell is handcrafted, using techniques that are centuries old. The owners welcome all people with any type of hair and are happy to help you find a comb that best suits you. You can pop inside and have a look if you like. When you're done, or if you prefer to keep moving, with your back to the shop, continue to your right down the street and pass through the red arches. Stop at the beginning of this street. Be aware because we are about to come across a band of 5 thieves. Look towards the top of the buildings to both your left and right. Notice statues of 2 guys hanging out on the top of the building. Well, these are 2 of the 5 thieves of this street. As we mentioned earlier, Asakusa used to be known for theatre and cinema. There used to be a famous theatre in the area called the Ichimaruza. The Ichimaruza premiered the kabuki play of Benten Kuzu, which became a hit kabuki play. It was a story of 5 thieves based on real people. There are 3 more thieves hanging around the area, so let's see if you can find them. Continue a short distance down this road. Stop here in front of the traditional Japanese sandal shop on your right. This shop sells geta, or traditional Japanese sandals made of wood. They resemble flip-flops and actually originate from China. Typically, geta are worn with traditional Japanese kimonos. If you picked up a kimono earlier, you might want to get some sandals to go with it. Also, were you able to find the 3rd thief? He should be standing right in front of the sandal shop. Keep going down the street. Notice anything around here? That's correct. The 4th thief is standing above the sign of this shop on the right. It should be next to a parking lot. This is where you should see the 5th and final thief. He's hanging out on the balcony on top of the shop to the left. Make a right at the end of this street. Make a right turn down the next street on your right. Make a left here. This long road you're about to go down has multiple souvenir shops, chain restaurants, and small food shops. Feel free to stop by any store you find interesting, and I'll meet you at the far end. Stop here. This area usually has a lot of rickshaws on standby. In fact, to your right, there should be a red booth selling tickets to a rickshaw ride. A rickshaw is a 2- or 3-wheeled cart-style passenger vehicle drawn by 1 or 2 people. You may notice people in traditional clothing standing by the rickshaws, waiting, ready for people who want a ride. This is a popular tourist attraction that complements the traditional nature of the area. Did you know that rickshaw comes from the Japanese word jin-ricksha? Jin means human, rik means power, and sha means vehicle. So a man-powered vehicle. We're almost at the end of the tour, so if you want to have a ride, I suggest coming back here after the tour. Now, turn left and keep going. To your left, there should be a bar called Kamiya Bar. Stop here. This is Japan's oldest Western-style bar. Kamiya Bar was established in 1880 and invented its signature drink called Denki Bran in 1882. Denki means electric, and Bran is short for brandy. At the time, electricity was new and was at the forefront of modernization. So, a trend began where people started to put Denki as a prefix before naming things. It also is meant to signify that the drink has an electric-like tingle on your tongue when you drink it. The Denki Bran recipe remains a secret, but it's thought to have a mix of gin, wine, brandy, and herbs. Why don't you pop inside and try one? Make sure you don't have too many though, as it's got a 40% alcohol content. And we want you to finish this tour. When you are ready, we are going to head to our last spot, the bridge overlooking Sumida River. With the bar on your left, if you look ahead straight across the main road, you'll see the police station with the traditional roof on the other side. It's right by a big tree. That's where we need to get to. But you can't cross straight over from here. You'll need to use 3 pedestrian crossings at this intersection to get to the police station, starting with the one on your right. I'll meet you in front of the police station. You're now in front of the police station. Make a right here and cross the mini crosswalk in front of you. You should be walking towards the bridge. Welcome to our last stop. You should be standing at the entrance of a long bridge. The bridge crosses over the Sumida River, where the statue enshrined at Senso-Ji Temple was found. In front of you, you should see the Sky Tree, the tallest tower in the world. It towers over Tokyo at 634 meters tall. You might also notice a giant golden poop. This is the headquarters for Asahi Beer. In Japanese, its nickname is Kino Uchi. Kino means gold and Uchi means poo. So, the golden poo. This is where I'll be leaving you now. From the Tourist Information Center to here, we walked all over Asakusa